Hello again everybody, and continuing with my theme of travel in relation particularly to Homer's Odyssey. In his book The Pillars of Hercules, the American travel writer Paul Theroux had spent 18 months on a journey around the shores of the Mediterranean. Beginning in Gibraltar, he gradually works his way round through coastal communities, bustling cities, isolated stretches of harsh and desolate shores, until he eventually arrives in Tangier and the other Pillar of Hercules on the African side. In many ways, that's an odyssey in itself. But initially I don't want to treat it like that. I want to talk about his thoughts prompted by difficulties for sailors in the Straits of Messina, which was perhaps the inspiration for Homer's Scylla and Charybdis, described rather vividly in Odyssey, Book 12. This is what Homer says. "We'd no sooner put this island behind us than I saw a cloud of smoke ahead and a raging surf, the roar of which I could already hear. My men were so terrified that the oars all dropped from their grasp and fell with a splash in the wash of the ship, while the ship herself, now the hands that had pulled the long blades were idle, was brought to a standstill. I made a tour of the vessel, and with a soothing word for each man, I tried to put heart into my company. 'My friends,' I said, 'we are men who've met trouble before, and I cannot see that we are faced here by anything worse than the Cyclops when he used his brute strength to imprison us in his cave. Yet my courage and presence of mind found a way out for us even there, and I am sure that this too will be a memory for us one day. So now I appeal to you all to do exactly as I say. Oarsmen, stick to your benches, striking hard with your blades through the open water, and we may have the luck to slip by and for once avoid disaster. Helmsman, your orders are these. Get them by heart, for the good ship's steering oar is under your control. Give a wide berth to that smoke and surf you see, and hug these cliffs, or before you can stop her, the ship may take it into her head to make a dash over there, and you'll wreck us.' The crew obeyed me readily enough. Trouble from Scylla seemed inevitable, so I didn't mention her, fearing that in their panic my men might stop rowing and hide in the hold. But now I allowed myself to forget Circe's irksome injunction not to arm myself in any way. I put my fine harness on, seized a couple of long spears, and took my stand on the forecastle deck, hoping from that post to get the first view of Scylla, the monster of the rocks who wrought such havoc on my crew. But I couldn't catch a glimpse of her anywhere, though I searched the sombre face of the cliff in every part till my eyes were tired. Thus we sailed up the straits, groaning in terror, for on the one side we had Scylla, on the other the mysterious Charybdis sucked down the salt sea in her dreadful way. When she vomited it up, she was stirred to her depths and seethed over like a cauldron on a blazing fire, and the spray she flung on high rained down on the tops of the crags at either side. But when she swallowed the salt water down, the whole interior of her vortex was exposed. The rocks re-echoed to her fearful roar, and the dark sands of the sea bottom came into view. My men turned pale with fear, and now, while all eyes were fixed on Charybdis and the quarter from which we looked for disaster, Scylla snatched out of my boat the 6 ablest hands I had on board. I swung round to glance at the ship and run my eye over the crew, just in time to see the arms and legs of her victims dangled high in the air above my head. 'Odysseus,' they called out to me in their agony. But it was the last time they used my name. For like an angler on a jutting point who with a long rod casts his ox-horn lure into the sea as bait for the little fish below, gets a bite and whips his struggling prize to land, Scylla had whisked my comrades up and swept them struggling to the rocks, where she devoured them at her own door, shrieking and stretching out their hands to me in their last desperate throes. In all I have gone through as I made my way across the seas, I have never had to witness a more pitiable sight than that." Now that surely is something of what is in Paul Theroux's mind when, after describing the Straits of Messina and musing on the whole nature of Scylla and Charybdis, he concludes thus: "Among many other things, the Odyssey is a poem about the frustrations and miseries of travel and the long voyage home. In a word, it's an epic of homesickness, greatly consoling to a traveller reading it." Well, the Odyssey truly is an epic of travail and difficulty challenges and struggles with the desired nostos, the homecoming, achieved at immense cost. After years of suffering and toil, the loss of all his men and all his possessions, Odysseus arrives home to find his home full of suitors for his wife. It makes us question whether it had all been worthwhile. Paul Theroux's observation that the Odyssey is an epic of homesickness is consoling to any traveller reading it must indeed raise this question. But what does this epic of homesickness say to us? In these difficult times, there is an end which we can reach. There is a destination. There is a point to it all. As Theroux reaches the end of his Odyssey around the Mediterranean, there is the Homeric rosy dawn. As we journey through lockdown, there is that hope, that nostos, and that wonderful morning awaiting us. This is how the Pillars of Hercules finishes. And very Homeric it is too. The darkness in the sky dissolved as though rinsed in light. Into that eastern sky leaked yellow, orange, pinking to paleness, a whole illuminated day ahead, looming behind the rock to the northeast, grander at this distance, and then the pair of pillars big and small on the facing shores. The sea was calm and glittered under limitless sky. It was going to be a wonderful morning, the sort of restless brilliance you get, the sky exhausted of clouds after days of storms. The light grew brighter, revealing the day, and it just got better as this rosy dawn became a sunset in reverse.